Hello and welcome to another tech tip from FARO. My name's Horton and I'm a 3D documentations engineer for FARO UK. So in this next tech tip, what I'd like to do is show you how to use the area measurement tool. If you've already downloaded it, then you'll see this icon on your desktop. If not, then you need to go to the Tools menu and Apps, and the easiest way to get to the App Store is to click on the down arrow and go to Browse Apps Online. When you're here, you'll notice all the available apps for FARO Scene and locate the relevant one, which in this case is going to be the area measurement tool. Click on it and it will open up, and you'll notice in this particular tool it's free of charge, so all you need to do is download it. What I'd also suggest as well, although you do get access to it in the settings, is to download the user manual and have a read through it first. Also, prior to downloading, please check out the system requirements. So if we go back to Scene itself, I know I've got it loaded. At any point, if the icon ever disappears, then come back into your Apps dialog box and check that the tick box is set to active by the side of the relevant application. So for those of you that have watched the other movies in the series of the tech tips, you'll recognise this fairly simple model that I've used quite a few times. What I'm going to do is get myself into a position where I can take some area measurements. There are three key ways to take area measurements, and they're based on working on a plane. First off, if you click the down arrow next to the tool, you'll notice that you've got the help menu, which will open up the user manual. The first way of measuring is to simply start an area measure and to work your way around a surface by clicking the points on the scan data. As you go to the third point, it will start to triangulate, and the next thing you'll notice is this dotted line, which is basically telling us that this is the unclosed shape. So if I add in another point over here, then the line will move and start to create the rectangle. If at any point you make a mistake, if you use the back space on your keyboard, you can step back through the points. Also, as you're working around, pay close attention to the corner dots, as these denote the level of your plane. i.e., if you're working on a plane on a wall and you're within a 5 centimeter distance, then what you're going to get is a green light, in the same way that Scene works on a traffic light system. If you do go outside that boundary, so say for instance I click on this wall or further back, I'll start to get an amber or a yellow symbol, and this is saying that I'm now between a 5 and 20 centimeter distance from the wall surface where I first started. So again, you can step back to get back to your points. If you go woefully beyond that, if I click on the back wall here, I'll start to get a red symbol, which is telling me that I've gone beyond 20 centimeters. So the system is trying to forewarn you that you're working on a flat plane. If at any point you're not happy with the area that you're creating, simply hit the N for November on the keyboard and that will start a new area measurement. So again, work your way around, tracing your points and locations. When you're finished, you can either double click to close the shape, or you can hit the Enter key. So if I double click in this corner, it will now close the shape and tell me that the area I've selected is 5.8874 meters squared. In your workspace on the left, you'll notice under measurements now, we now have an areas folder, and the name of your area is located there. We can also change this name to make it more sensible for our naming convention. Now that we've got an area created, what we can do is double click on that area, and if you've watched the movie about WebShare to Go or even WebShare Cloud, you'll remember that you can add in hyperlinks either to a website or external documents, be they JPEGs or PDFs and the like. This works in exactly the same way. So if I've got a paint specification for this particular wall that gives me a price per meter squared and it exists as a PDF, I can add that PDF in as a hyperlink against this particular area measurement. So when we're sharing this data through the WebShare process, they have access to that data as well. So that's the first way of producing an area measurement. What I'm going to do is just delete that one and get rid of it. The next option is to work on predefined planes that we've already got in the system. By working in this manner, it allows us to lock the area measurement against an existing plane. If I just go to my visibility settings and go to my layers tab and turned on any matched objects, I can see in here that I've got a plane. I know for a fact that that exists in scan number 3. So what I can do is select that plane, and now when I go to the area measure tool, I can start an area measurement on the selected plane. Click OK, and then in exactly the same way, as I start to trace around, it will start to lock the area to that plane. If I click inside this doorway over here, because I'm locked to a plane, the nodal points on each corner will always remain green because I'm only working on that plane. So I could start to do a what if scenario to say that if we were to extend this particular wall over to the jamb of this door, then because I'm working on a plane, I can click on objects in the front or the back of the view and click OK and give myself an area measurement. I could go in and do a compare then, and do another one in a similar location to see the meterage or extra square area that I'm going to get. The beauty of working in this way is you might have already created your planes when doing your registration, so you can reuse the existing data. What I'm going to do now is get rid of that plane, and then I'm going to get rid of that area measurement as well. So I'm back to where I started. And now the final method is to start an area measure defining the plane first. Click on that. In exactly the same process, we start tracing the area. As soon as we've got 3 points, if I click Enter on the keyboard, that automatically defines the plane set against that wall level. And then as I go to start tracing, it finishes off the shape. Or I could backspace and I could go completely over the space now to say that's the area of my measurement and that's what I want to do. Again, when I click OK, I've got the area that I've measured based on the plane that I've first created, but now in the area section we've now got a plane and an area. The beauty of working in this method is if you start again to do a second area, hit enter to set the plane, then the area, we're starting to get plane and area, plane 2 and area 2, and so on and so forth. So it's a nice quick and easy way of setting up planes that are relational to the areas you've created. As sometimes it could get a little bit confusing if you're working on planes that you've used against scans and then planes that you've used against your areas. So now we've walked through those, there's a couple of other tips. What I'm going to do is take a measurement on this wall here. I'm going to set my plane up again, so I'm going to start an area measurement defining a plane first. Start my first point, my second point, roughly put in my plane. What I can do now is right click and I get a context sensitive menu to say I can add scan points by left clicking, remove my last point by using a backspace, abort measurement by using escape, or define a plane from a selected point using the I key or the return key. So if I just use the return key, that's going to give me my plane. Now the thing I can't do now is physically rotate, but using the control key, if I use the control key temporarily, it allows me to rotate and zoom in so I can see the area that I want to measure. And then if I hit the backspace again, what I could do is start to get into the areas where I couldn't previously see. So again, when I've finished, double click, that gives me my area measurement. So using this free application, you can now start to take area measurements on your point cloud data without having to not take it into CAD first or even create a web share. You can do it directly within the point cloud. Well, that's it for another tech tip. I hope you found it of use and thank you for watching. For more tech tips that I produce along the way, please feel free to follow me on Twitter. Thank you.